Hi and welcome, it's Peg, and today on Art Joy is Sharing, which is my sister channel that I share with Shell C, each Thursday we do live video for an audience, a live audience, and today we were using acrylics, and so I started off by using some acrylic paint on my gel plate. Now, today my basement was quite damp and my paper just wanted to stick to the plate. So I did not have terrific results. However, I am going to use the papers that were a result of my printing. So I'm just going to continue to layer up stamps and texture plates and paint on this gel plate to get a result that I want for printing. However, you'll see that the paper sticks to the plate and does not come up smoothly. This is another plate that I was prepping in advance. The paint was not dry yet, and I was afraid I was going to make a mess of it, so I was trying to dry it down a little bit, which might have created the problem. It might have just dried it too much and got it stuck to the plate. But I persevere, keeping on trying on. So I'm just showing you some papers that I'd gotten from my friend at Soul Rain Arts. That's Rachel. She has digital downloads. She has one that you can try for free, and then this is the one that I purchased in a pack. And I thought I might use some of those today, and I did not end up using them. But I have another panel, and I'm going to get started on that. I'm just taking some of that acrylic paint that I have out on my desk, and I'm going to start layering a background. I want to work on several pieces at once today, so it's always a challenge to work in an hour and a half and have a finished product to show an audience. So I'm just putting down some color on this wooden panel. These are from Arteza, and you can get them in a pack of 6, I believe. And they're very reasonable. I had gessoed it first, and then I'm coming back with some Deco Art Americana paint and doing a little bit of color blocking on this background. I'll use some stencils and reductive stenciling where I pull some of the paint back, and yeah, just getting down some color. There we go. Got a cloth, and I'm just pulling back some of that paint with a baby wipe. So I think we're getting close to time to start the live show. I was just doing this in preparation so that I had a place to start from um, as we move forward. So there's that other gel plate. I'm going to continue my layering. These are rubber that are made for the gel press plate, and then this is a stencil from Stencil Girl. And I'm just pushing some of that paint through the openings in the stencil. This will have to dry a little bit before I put another layer of paint down. I'm cleaning off my stencil and, creating more paper that can be used in a background someplace doing that. And I'm going to figure out what kind of color I want to use on here. I'm just combining a few colors. I'm not going to use it straight out of the bottle. And talking to the audience about the surfaces that I've created. This is just the beginning of the show, and we're talking about how we layer things up. I'm using some StazOn ink through a stencil to add more dimension to this background, Here's another piece of a stencil. This is like a 9 by 12 that I cut down. And I'm just pushing that stays on ink through that. And then I'm going to use Jerry's Artorama pencil. These are those jumbo jet pencils. And sketch out where I'm going to put my quirky bird. And then I'm going to start layering in his face. Now this too is going to be very wet and needs to be set aside to dry. So just getting the rudimentary stuff penciled in. And so now I'm creating that first print using some paint to moisten the paint that's underneath, and then I'm going to hopefully be able to pull that print. I'm starting to check to see if it's going to pull. Some of it's pulling and some of it isn't, so I'm trying to put it back down. And yeah, the paper's ripping up. You can see what's happening there with the paper. So that did not turn out quite the way I had hoped for. So now I'm thinking about the color that I want. I want kind of a greenish tone to go over this red-pink combo. And putting that down, I'm going to get a different kind of paper. This is some mineral paper that I'm pulling this one with. And it's not picking up the whole thing. So, you know, maybe I was rushing it, trying to get it to dry down. Now I'm using some of that bronze paint from Lumiere, trying to pull one last print. And you can see that stuff is still on there, so I thought, well, I'm going to use some really sticky spray. This is that Dina Wakley spray. Surely that will pull all of that up. Nope, did not. So I'm getting out my hand sanitizer to clean off my plate because, you know, the stuff just is not coming off. So I've got one last plate to pull. Of course, I printed on the wrong side. It was not my day. It was not my day. So I'm going to try and get a final print that I'm happy with. And this one actually is my best print of the day. So after about a half an hour of horsing around, I finally got something that I was happy with. So on to the next thing. So I have another gessoed panel here, and I'm going to use my FW inks and start another background. These are fluid acrylic inks, and I'm going to use a brush and move some of that around on the panel. And of course this is going to be very, very wet, and I'm going to have to let that dry. I'm using these Art Foamy stamps to move some of that ink around. I have a homemade stamp, and I'm using the pipette that comes with the ink here to create something a little organic looking on here. And of course I will have to let that set and dry. I'm getting a little bit too enthusiastic and my things are just getting a little bit muddied, so off to the next thing. So I'm back to this canvas. They're still a little bit wet, so I'm trying to add some yellow into those eyeballs. That's going to stay wet for a while. So now I'm going to talk to the audience a little bit about using these inks and just creating a flow with water. And you can see that I had started earlier to make the shape of an elephant, and I'm just letting the ink move around the page following the water that I placed on there. So this one is dry, and then I would come back with some pens, pencils, start adding color, getting a reference out here, an elephant, so that you can see where the nooks and crannies are and where you would add some shading and um, where the tusk would be, that sort of thing. So yeah, my phone was set to turn off, so I had to go in and adjust the settings. But I started out with this pen, and I decided I didn't like the pen at all. I'm going to switch over to Stabilo All and just do some rough sketching with that. Just showing how you can create um, an abstract impression with ink and water. And yeah, my water's dirty. I don't mind. The dirty water makes it kind of look like the brownish tone of the elephant. Adds a little character to the black and white. Okay, so yeah, yellow's not quite dry yet, but it's an hour and a half show. I got to get moving, got to get something done here. So I'm starting to paint in my character, my little quirky bird here. He's going to be kind of a long neck fellow. I've got some golden acrylic paint that I'm using to fill in with, and I want to get his bill and his eyes and his feathers in there before the show ends so that people have an idea of what this little bird is supposed to be looking like. I'm happy with the background so far. I'm going to add some more things to the background though. I want to pull in some of that blue tone that I'm using on the bill, and I'm going to go back to that stencil that I was initially using in the background, and my Posca pen, because I'm going to use a blue Posca pen to do some of the detail on the bill, and adding some of that blue into his feathers also, so that it looks like it's working together there. Got to dry in between layers because the show's moving on. Got to get going here. So I'm starting to add the bill, do a little finger painting there. That blue Posca pen. You can see I'm adding in the feathers and the expressions under the eyes, and just trying to get my character going here on this bird. Okay. The pen I was working with there wasn't really working. I think it's kind of dried out. So I had to find my black Posca pen, get the nostrils, and finish out the eyes here. Trying to do a little more fine detail. So here comes that blue Posca pen with that same stencil, tying that blue into the background that I'm using on the bill. And then I'll also use some big brush markers in some yellows and orange tones. I want to add some depth of color to the background to bring out the eyes of the personality of the bird. So I'm gonna use the big brush marker and a little bit of orange in the eye there and blend it out with my finger. And I'm making kind of a mess, so I have to go back in. And then I will coat that with some matte medium because I want to make sure that my big brush marker is going to move around on top of those other acrylics. I'm looking at this piece now, seeing where we are in the process, and saying, oh boy, that's still really wet. Still really wet. Got to keep going on that one. And trying out my big brush markers. I like this blue for the shading around the edge there, and then I'm going to grab this orangish tone for the other side, and then I'll work some of those tones into the background, kind of uniting the colors all together. You know, he's got the yellow and the orange in his eyes, and there wasn't much of that in the background, so I want to add some more of the yellow and orange into the background. And I'll do some finishing up fine detail with pencil and pen, and that'll be it pretty much for today's work on Art Joy of Sharing. If you don't know about the group, come and join us. We are a Facebook group, and we have lots of challenges and lots of fun, and we do this live every week. So I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.